So I've had a question going around my head for the last couple of weeks. Does believing in God make a difference to how I live? Now, that might seem a controversial thing for a priest to say, but so many of my family and friends remember me from before. The Alex who didn't have any time for church or Christians for that matter. And I know I've changed, but what do others see? And is that important? Well, I've come to the conclusion that it really, really does matter. It matters how I live. You see, I think people on the whole are curious, a little curious about people who have a faith because we live mostly at odds with what the world values. You see, we live in a world where human nature is to desire things we feel we need or deserve. Money, success, status, health, long life, fame, good food, a good body, good sex, good house. You get the idea. And of course, all of these things can bring happiness, but it can also mean that people live with disappointment, worry, stress, weighed down by the struggling mess of our own humanity, depressed by the certainty that death is inevitable and life was not all that it was cracked up to be. But having faith should alter the way that we see life and the way that we live. Let me tell you about what happened to me when I came back to the church 11 years ago and opened myself up to the possibility that God was indeed real and he was a loving God. It all happened quite slowly. I noticed I was gradually being challenged to think about different aspects of my life, the way I behaved at work, how I was as an employer. I found I had a different focus. I looked less at myself and more at people around me. I looked less at my 10-year retirement plan and thought more about what God wanted me to do. Gradually, I found that I wasn't doing life in my own strength, but with the help of God. I remember telling people that I felt softer inside. You see, all the anger that I had carried around inside me for many years from being hurt by other people gradually left me. And it gave me space in my inner being. It felt like my lungs had more space to breathe, that my heart had more space to love. It felt like I uncoiled and allowed God in. And that made me feel softer. When we allow God in, he gradually nudges us along the right path and keeps nudging us. And living like this, daily becoming aware of what God wants to do in us, brings an inner joy and peace that can travel right down to your tips of your fingers and the ends of your toes. Because regardless of circumstance, regardless of suffering, regardless of death, we hold on to the knowledge that we are known and loved by God, and that living life in partnership with him, we can find peace. And I think people are especially curious about that. They're curious about faith when life is hard, when they see us traveling difficult paths, when we go through sad seasons. They may ask, how on earth are you coping? Or even, aren't you angry? What kind of God allows that to happen? And of course, this is when we can gently tell people that there is another way to do life, another way to live. We have a God who loves us all, who lives within us and gives us joy and peace regardless of our circumstances. The kind of peace you get when you know that all is well, because we are loved and guided and held by God until we meet him face to face. And that is living. So, does believing in God make a difference to how I live? Absolutely it does. And I suppose what I want to say finally is that if you're curious about what I have been saying, if you'd like to talk some more, then please do comment or contact the church office. It's always good to talk. Thank you for listening.